Hey, welcome back to the channel. And today I wanted to just talk about Fujifilm prices. And this is probably going to be the last time I talk about it because I've had a couple of videos recently where I've talked about buying my XE4 versus the XE5 and, you know, the new prices that are coming out and how I thought the XE5 was a bit expensive. This is all from my perspective here in the US, and we're dealing with tariffs here as well. That's just making the normal inflation that we're experiencing have even more of an impact. There was a couple of things that I have noticed lately, and I do follow Fujifilm prices pretty regularly. I check eBay, MPB, KEH, B&H, Adorama. I definitely keep my eye, especially on the used prices in the market as well. So we had a price increase for the new Fujifilm gear August 1st of 2025 this year. And there's an article I read this week about an upcoming additional price increase on August 31st of this year on Fujifilm gear, and it doesn't specifically say which gear is going to have an increase or how much this increase is going to be. The way I read this was, when I first saw it, I thought, what are they just trying to get people to cram in and buy more gear in August before this second price increase? And I realized that in the US, the tariff landscape keeps changing, so it's a very fluid situation, and they may have to adjust their prices several times. But I, as a consumer, can choose whether or not I want to purchase these items. Need versus want. If you need it, you actually have to buy gear for, you know, so your gear broke, you need to replace something. That's a different story. If you're making money with your gear, that is even, you know, more of a reason to have to purchase something versus wanting to purchase something. I'm a hobby photographer, so everything for me is want. And I talked about the FOMO that I was experiencing with the XE5, and that, you know, after I saw it, I kept going back and watching, you know, the videos again, the reviews, and checking the web pages. But I have since gotten past that. So I've let it go, and I'm going to keep my XE4, as I mentioned previously. Most of the reason I'm keeping it is because I don't want to sell my X-T5. I really like this camera. I started the channel with this camera, and the thought of having to sell this to fund, you know, an XE5 purchase was just, no, I don't want to do that. There's too many things that this camera has that the XE5 doesn't, and it would just be a deal breaker for me. Everybody's different, so if it isn't a deal breaker for you, or if you can afford to buy that camera and you don't have to sell something else, or if you do, you're fine with it, all of that is great. I'm just speaking from my own perspective. We've got another coming price increase. That really got me looking at the used prices. And I have to say that a good way to research prices is to use eBay, because you can filter for sold and completed sales, and you can filter for location of the item. So you could say, I want to look at everything that's in the US that sold recently, and you'll get to see the prices that they sold for, not just what was being asked for sale, but what they actually sold for. So that can be really helpful, because you don't get to see that on KEH or MPB. You just see the for sale price, right? And they have been creeping up. So I noticed, and I'm going to call them out, because I noticed on B&H that when the X-T5 price jumped $200, well, all of a sudden their used X-T5s appeared, to me at least, to have gone up in price, where you have a well-used X-T5 right now selling for, I think it was for 17. Hang on, I'm gonna pull that up. I was surprised at that, and so that got me to start looking around at KEH and MPB to see what they were doing with it. So here you've got a used $1,784. Okay, so the prior price for the XT5 was $16.99, and then it got raised to $18.99 on August 1st. And it's possible it's going to get raised again based on this article, and I'll share a link to the article in the description so that you can read it for yourself. This one says 8+ moderate wear. Okay. I'm wondering, how did you come up with a $1,784 price? Is it really just demand? I would go and I would look elsewhere to see what prices are being sold for there. So if I go to MPB and I look for an XT5, I'm seeing them selling for around $1,500, like new conditions. And you get to see the actual pictures on MPB of what it is you're purchasing. All in all, I would immediately really look at purchasing off of MPB if I was looking for an XT5, a used one. And if I was looking for one on eBay, I would go down and pick used. And I would go down here and I would take a look at what's recently sold. Looks like $12.89. That was in December, so that's an old one. I wouldn't even count that. $14.99. One sold this month. Here's another one sold for $16.50. So these are considerably lower than that $1,700 one that we were just looking at on B&H. But these probably don't come with a warranty, whereas MPB, KEH, even B&H. B&H has a 90-day warranty that is half the warranty period that you're going to get with the others. And if I go to MPB and I just pick this first one, say it's like new, $14.99, 6-month warranty. So you get a little bit more of a warranty on there. The whole point of this is to just say, do your homework if you're looking for used gear. Check around, get an idea of what things are selling for on eBay, what they've sold for. Take into account that they probably don't have a warranty. Read the description to see if they did, but most of the ones I find don't. Filter on eBay to, for the location. Make sure, if you're in the US, you pick US, or if you're elsewhere, you pick elsewhere and look and see. Because again, here in the US, the de minimis rule has been eliminated as well. So things where you could order a lens from Japan on eBay and get it at a great price and not have to pay any duties on it when it got here, that's all going away on August 29th. So I've noticed the prices have really jumped on eBay as well from these dealers that sell from Japan. So that's just something to keep in mind. You really need to do your research and choose what you're comfortable with. If you prefer to get something with a warranty, then go for one of these, KEH or MPB, B&H, Adorama. Check their prices, compare them all. I've decided I'm not buying anything else this year. I don't want to get caught up in this FOMO, and I want to spend more time on the photography side versus the gear side. Jay Ducker, who I follow here on YouTube, had a nice post the other day, a video talking about a very similar topic, something that's been on my mind as well, not focusing on gear, but focusing on photography. I've got 2 great cameras. I have an XS20 for video. I have great gear. I don't need to be constantly obsessed with getting new gear to improve my photography, or is it just because I want to get new gear? That's really the question. So ask yourself, do you really need it? If you do, buy it. If you don't mind paying the higher prices, that's perfectly fine. I think things are just getting a bit out of hand, and it may just be a combination of a lot of factors that are causing it, especially here in the US. So for me, I am not going to make any other purchases. I'm not going to sell anything. I'm going to keep what I have. I'll continue to evaluate which lenses that I'm using. Share in the comments what your thoughts are about this, because I would really like to hear whether or not you're tired of being gear focused, whether you're tired of the pricing and the 75% of your expectations being fulfilled. If you're just happy with what you've got, just keep it and go out, take photos, and use it. Thanks for watching, and do share in the comments what your thoughts are. I'm really curious to read them.